We are starting with the sacking of Antonio Conte. Trophyless, hopeless. He moves on. There are links to Julian Nagelsmann that we'll move on to, but I wanted to go to Jordz first because I know you're someone that really backed the manager for a long time, but he's now gone. How are you feeling about it? You're on mute, bro.
Muted. Sorry about that. I've sort of become detached from the thought of him being at Tottenham over this past week. So I've sort of learned to live with it. I mean, we're at this stage now where it was as you said, I think in an earlier show I watched, it was waiting to happen. He'd pretty much been sacked or he had agreed to leave, whatever the business terms they want to use. It was agreed that he was no longer going to be the Tottenham manager by this week. And so it went ahead. Apparently, it's more on his side. He doesn't want to finish a job at Tottenham. He doesn't feel supported by the board. He doesn't feel supported and backed by the players. And so he sort of saw his way out. I don't feel like it's been a good tenure. It's been okay. There was some great things and some great moments that we've had, but there was also some very bad moments. And similar to what Jose done here, the bad outrule how good it was. Because ultimately, right now, we're not in a great position. It seems like it's just a revolving door at Spurs at the moment, where everything goes up. It's like starts off well, goes up, and then it just comes down, and it comes crashing down. And right now, that's the where we're at. It's come crashing down. We've got Stellini and Mason in till the end of the season with 10 games to go. For me, that seems like Levy's just trying to get us to top four, and his statement pretty much said that. He's just, we're trying to play out to see it out till top four. I think Conte didn't want to continue, but look, we'll keep Conte's right-hand man, the man that trains the team every day and plays the exact same way, and we'll keep him until the end of the season, see if he can get us to top four because he had a few good games. So it seems like Levy's trying to save face, keep Stellini and keep Mason in, try to see us out the season and go into next season with top four. But whether we get top four or not, it doesn't make much difference as to where we're going next season unless we have a clear plan with a new manager and we're actually going to go out there and back that manager to give him what he wants in the transfer window, as well as with regards to this team, because this team needs to be ripped up and it needs to be a lot of players sold, a lot of contracts terminated. But it's whether the Tottenham board are going to go ahead and do all of this. That's where the questions lie.
I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to throw this to Savva. This has all happened now. Where does the blame really lie at Tottenham? Because, of course, no manager has been winning things for a long time. Conte has had these outbursts. He's made some terrible decisions on the football pitch. But where does the blame lie? How has this happened? How have you got to this position again, mate?
How long is the show? Look, it's a systemic problem at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's come right from the very top. Where, look, we can take it from the top to the bottom. If we start from the bottom, Antonio Conte was never the right guy. It was always a terrible, terrible manager choice for Tottenham Hotspur. It didn't match. It didn't fit. This is a guy that is win now, as opposed to a club like Tottenham that weren't in the position to win, that weren't ready to win. And yet fans then lose their mind when a manager like Conte has come and gone in 18 months, when that's his average tenure at every football club he's ever managed. So from that point of view, it was a terrible appointment, but it all goes back to the board. It all goes back to there's no plan. Like Jordz said, there's no plan at this football club. So there's no ethos. You look at other clubs and you go, right, that's the type of player they sign. That's the type of football they play. Tottenham have just got none of that. We've got nothing coming through the youth. We've got no ethos in the way we play football. We've got no plan, no pathway to the first team. The directors of football keep coming and going, and that keeps changing as well. And until there's a plan in place, and until fans stop craving top four, by the way, top four's the worst thing that's happening to this football club at the moment, because it's making fans think we're better than we are. And I think we need to look past that. We need to look past the end of our noses and look at, what do we want to be? What do Tottenham want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? When we're all a lot older, what club do we want to be? And unfortunately, that's not how we operate. We operate on a get top four, get the money. That's success. And that success started with Levy, him seeing that as success, and it's filtered down to fans craving top four. You watch all the conversations you'll hear will be, can we still salvage top 4? Why does anyone care? Why do Tottenham fans care if we're in the Champions League or not? Does nothing for us. We don't use it as a platform to kick on. So, look, for me, it all stems from the top with the board. However, I would say that Antonio Conte is a dreadful football manager for anyone that likes football on the eye. So, it didn't marry up for me.
I hear you on that. I mean, do you agree with that, Jordz? From it's in
No.
Top 4 is bad for you as a club.
Oh.
You guys have got to stop giving it the big un and thinking you're better than you really are. Like, do you agree with that take?
I think it's bad for us because we set the board set the limit at top 4. Every time we're talking about top 4, it makes you think that is what you aim to reach, and if you exceed that we're just doing something completely amazing. But we should be aiming for first. We should be aiming to win the league title. Whether it's not this year, we need to start a plan in the next 5 years on how we're going to get to that league title, and that's where the problem lies. Is like Savva said, we're just aiming this year. We're going to get top 4. Next year we might get top 4 a bit more comfortable, but it's just top 4, and that's where the problem lies. It's just that we focus on that a bit too much, in as a whole, as a club, the club focuses on that too much. And it reflects onto the players, it reflects onto the managers, and it reflects onto the fans. But no one's happy with that. Let's get that clear. Fans are not happy with top 4. Top 4 is a participation trophy. We're participating in the Champions League. And yeah, it's good and it's all fun and games to be above some of your rivals into top 4. But if it means we're just going to go into the Champions League next season and bow out the group stages, whether it's not round of 16, then there's no point in going into the Champions League. I'd rather go into the Europa League and win it. I'd rather just go there and win the Europa League just for the sake of it. So right now, like Sav said, I couldn't really care less about top 4 this season, because if there's no plan going into next season, we're just going in there to be participants anyway. So top 4 does nothing for us apart from boost the revenue by 10 mil or something like that. It's nothing big for us.
Yeah. So can I just add on to that? Yeah, you're right, George. For me, look, European football's great and everyone wants to play in Europe, but I think sometimes we get a bit blinded by counting that as success, right? There's no plan. Like we can keep going back to this. What are we going to be in 5 years? What are we going to be in 10 years? You look at City. Yeah, they've spent money, but while spending money, look at what they've built and the infrastructure of the club coming through. Look at the youngsters coming through that football club. It's disgustingly good how good their youngsters are. And they'll get to the point where even if they're banned from buying players for a year, they'll just keep bringing these youngsters through the academy. We don't even have that. We don't even have an academy that's worth talking about. So what are we? We're pretenders. We're trying to keep up with the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Cities, the Chelseas, the Uniteds. But all of these clubs do that little thing that word shouldn't be in our dictionary, which is win. They all win. We don't. And I'd take a drop off in the league for a couple of years if it meant we were building something properly, an actual ethos.
Can I interject? I know as an Arsenal fan, you probably don't want to hear it, but I see just sort of some similarities now, especially from like sort of post 06 Arsenal, when we went to the Champions League. We had a phenomenal team and we sort of sold off a lot of our key players. And it seemed like we were just sort of settling with the top 4. And it just seemed like the club were happy with that. And we sort of stagnated. And then when sort of Arsene Wenger left, we had to do that big rehaul. And that's something I've not seen Spurs do. I feel like from the owner perspective, they're just trying to make sure the money's coming in, keep the top 4, keep the check rolling. But I feel like with the players that you're buying, I just feel like they're just wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, your youth team. I mean, if you look at the Premier League 2 right now, I think you're second bottom. Right now, there's no youth team there, and I don't know one successful club who doesn't have a successful youth team. I can't think of one. Bayern Munich have an amazing youth team. Real Madrid have an amazing youth team. Barcelona have an amazing youth team. Arsenal, well, they're killing it at the moment. Carrington has always been a good pipeline of players. Chelsea, they've always had a good pipeline of players. So these are what I mean. I don't see any youth coming up, and like you said, you're buying in. You're not getting that inbuilt sort of players. So we'll look at Saka. They come for the club. They know the values of the club, so they live and breathe the club. And those players then emulate that and spread it onto newcomers who are coming in because it shows how much they're worth. And I think back to when we bought Thierry Henry, and I remember he was nervous because of the players that we had at the club at the time. and he fed on that. And I'm not seeing that winning mentality, and I think that comes from top to bottom. But I think rightly said, you need that big rehaul. There needs to be a big reinvestment. Like you need to take an L for like 2 seasons, like we did. We were eighth twice, got fifth. Yeah, like do you know what I mean? Like it happens. But the thing is, I wasn't Mikel Arteta out ever, because I knew that there was a project. I knew that there was something in place, not rather than a patch job where when we got Unai Emery and he bought bloody we had Lichtsteiner and Mustafa. Do you know what I mean? We had all these crap players, aging players, just to come in and try and do a patch job, Socrates and all this, and it wasn't doing justice. And that's where I was losing touch. And I think from a fan's perspective, because I got a lot of friends who are Tottenham fans, I asked them at the start of the season. None of them said none of you genuinely believe that you would win something. Genuinely, it was always, I hope we win something. I hope we do something. I hope we get it. But I never actually remember hearing someone saying, "Nah, with chess, like we've got it."
But
I said that. I said that. I thought we was going to win something with chest. I genuinely believe we would win something because of the manager we brought in.
FA Cup. That was it. The FA Cup.
Yeah, we do.
Yours said it a minute.
Why though? Why? Can I ask why? Sorry. Why did a single Spurs fan think Antonio Conte coming in would make us win something?
Savva, but you clearly seem like you're not an Antonio Conte fan. You talk.
No.
No. Wait, I'm not saying. Wait, you sound like you're not a fan of the way he plays football. So you didn't believe in his ethos or how he would bring a trophy to his club. I looked at the fact that he'd won trophy at every club he won. The back end of last season, he's shown the ability that he can take on with his Tottenham team and how much he can improve the Tottenham team. The Tottenham team fell off at the start of this season due to those players not maintaining the levels that he already set at the back end of last season. But if they maintain that level, then we much well could have went on to win a trophy. And not being funny, the reason we didn't win trophies this season is because we went out in singular knockout games against teams that are far poorer than us. Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United, and AC Milan. One-off games that we just wasn't good enough. So again, I don't really blame the manager for that. I blame it on the players, and that's these loser players that have gone out in all these trophies against lower end sides over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
So why is that not on your? Why is that not on the manager that you? Right. So hang on.
Time and time again with these same players.
You believed, right? This is what makes me laugh, right? I'm going to say this, and this is why Spurs fans will hate me, and other fans from other clubs will think I'm realistic, right? Spurs fans can't have it both ways. It's, oh my God, Antonio Conte's come in. He's this winner. He's going to win us things. Bang, let me put my chest out and tell everyone in the world and Conte's going to win us stuff. Cool. Right. We then play really bad teams in cup competitions. We play Nottingham Forest's B team and go out 2-0. We play Sheffield United's B team, and their only player of note was a 37-year-old Billy Sharp. We get knocked out by Mura. We get knocked out by Middlesbrough in the FA Cup last year. But when we get knocked out, all of a sudden, this manager that everyone lauds, who is meant to be this brilliant manager, it's not him, it's the players. But yet, when we beat Man City, when we beat Chelsea, when we beat Liverpool,
when you look at the performances, that's when you look at the performances in all those games. When you beat those big teams, you can clearly see it's a managerial performance. The way that we play, the team have.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because when you sit back against Manchester City for 85 minutes and you hit them on a counter-attack, it's clearly something that's been put into the player's head by the manager. When we counter them time and time again and break down that back line, it's the way that
he put that into their heads when they're playing Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United?
Set them out that way. When we're losing against the likes of Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United, and yes, I'm not going to say the blame is completely taken away from Conte. There's in-game tactical changes that he can make to impact that game for the better.
That he never does.
Which he didn't, but we're not going to take away from the fact that we lost to those teams because these shitty players that play at the back that have been for this last 6 or 7, 8 years, the likes of Ben Davies, the likes of Davinson Sanchez, the likes of Jaffet and Tanganga, the likes of Eric Dyer, these same players that are let us down against Colchester United.
No. See. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. If you want to know why Spurs fans are laughed at and why we are ridiculed, it's because of the nonsense coming out of your mouth right now. Right? I'm going to call you out for what it is. Right? These are such.
So what are you talking about these players?
Hang on. These are such easy things to do. We look at these games and go, oh, it was Dyer, Davis, and Sanchez. Cool. Now, whilst I don't rate any of those centre-backs, and sorry for going on, Terry, right? Whilst I don't rate any of them, right? In all of those games, Yeah, Harry Kane was a part of every single one of those games.
I blame him
hang on.
too.
No,
Called him
hang on.
out.
Right, but hang on. So now we're saying Harry Kane's not good enough to score against Nottingham Forest, Sheffield
Never said he's
United.
not good enough.
Right,
He's
hang
part
on.
of the problem.
Hang on. Let me. Right, hang on. I'm sorry. It cannot be that when we win, you can see it's a managerial performance. When we lose these embarrassing games, it's all the players, right?
It's not all the wins.
Hang on.
And it's not all
Let
the
me
losses.
finish. Dude, you got to let me finish, right?